hope you've caught your breath because, oh my goodness, what an ending that was to that particular match. And I mean, they say often that when it comes to the idea of sports or entertainment, be it movies, TV series, anything of the sort, a good ending can often make up for a lack. What follows or for what was preceding it was lackluster. And I think this match between India and Afghanistan, which could very well determine India's fate in terms of their qualification for the AFC Asian Cup, was proof of that maxim that a good ending matters a lot more than just the build up of it being good. Because let's face facts, the match before that absolute thriller ending, which saw 3 goals scored in about 7 to 10 minutes, it was going nowhere. Neither team were in any mood to take their chances. It looked like it was heading towards a nil-nil draw, which would have been frustrating for India because, as we know, if they had drawn, there would have been 4 points, and the last game there would have been a lot more pressure in terms of, okay, it would be a must-win situation, and there would be that added pressure of knowing that if you finish second with maybe 5 points or something like that, then it might not be enough to actually guarantee your qualification for the AFC Asian Cup. Because remember, of the 6 groups, only 5 of those teams will end up actually who finish second will qualify for the AFC Asian Cup. Thankfully, that doesn't seem to be much of a worry for India as things stand, because as we know, they have 6 points now from their 2 games, and that if they can actually, maybe even get just a draw, or of course, ideal thing would be win the next match and just, end up getting 9 points in their group, guarantee their qualification. But before that, it looked to be heading for a lot of frustration. In fact, I would venture out and say that the last few minutes was a roller coaster of emotions if you're an Indian fan, because my God, there was so much going on over there. I mean, you were thinking, okay, you're heading for a draw. Then you're thinking, yeah, okay, you have a free kick from a very good position. Once again, it was that man, Sunil Chhetri, who scores the goal, and you saw it in his celebration. It's like, what are you guys worried for? I'm here. I'm going to ensure that we make it. But right after that, there was a problem, and I think India at that point would have been kicking themselves because a poor clearance from Sandesh Jhingan, you could say, and that's what ended up leading to the corner being conceded. Once the corner went in, well, if you thought the clearance from Jhingan was bad, then I would argue that the man marking on that set piece was absolutely terrible. I mean, it says a lot that there was absolutely no marking going on there. The replays made it look like a bad goal when it first went in. But when you were watching the replays, you thought, my God, that was even worse than it somehow looked in the first go. Because you saw the Afghanistan player basically saunter away from his man marker. He waited for the ball. He could get in an absolutely perfect header at the near post, and then the Indian players were just left pointing fingers at each other. I mean, Sunil Chhetri in particular was livid at Manveer Singh because he was constantly telling him that was your man. Why is it that, you didn't pick him up? And then, I don't know what exactly was going on there, but at the end, Sahil Abdul Samad, who, as I've pointed out, I was pointing out in the pre-match as well, that Sahal is someone who brings a goal threat from midfield, and that India need to actually be looking for him to take some responsibility, put his hand up and let him say, you know what, I'm going to get you guys the end product. Well, he did just that. So I must say I'm very pleased that he managed to do that. Also, I think it's time that I take a few of your questions. So, sports fan, I agree with you. What a match indeed. Shubhra Ghosh says, great to see Sahal. What are our chances now? Chances are very good because, as remember, I think if India, I'll have to do the math, but right now they're in a very good position and potentially could actually top the group even if they get a draw. So if they get a draw, they could potentially be topping the group in their final match. But of course, you'd like to see them get a win as well. So either way, their chances right now, having gotten 2 wins from their first 2 games, very, very good. So if you're an Indian football fan, be prepared that, the team will actually be flying out for the AFC Asian Cup, wherever and whenever that may be. Yes, sports fan, I agree. Fantastic win for India. And yeah, that, I'm not going to go out there and proclaim that the Afghanistan players were, as you said, sore losers. But yeah, definitely I have to agree that, they absolutely did not handle that defeat all that well. I mean, they ended up starting a bit of a brawl, and there were some disagreements going on there. It's a bit unfortunate. I mean, you shouldn't really be seeing that happen. And I get if they were aggrieved at something, but the fact is they threw away that draw themselves. So if anything, they should be aggrieved at themselves that they actually had India on the back foot. and that India at that point looked very deflated. Remember, when that equalizing goal went in, you could hear a pin drop at Salt Lake Stadium because the crowd was silent. They were like, okay, that's it. Now suddenly things are looking very difficult, but then Sahal scores that goal. The crowd finds its voice again. And I think that was a killer blow in many ways for the, the Afghanistan national team, because they, the way they went, like after that, it was just like, definitely nothing. Yes, I absolutely agree, by the way, Kritik. It was a great match. And yes, Sahal was substituted at the right time. I hope he's someone I want to see become a future starter for India, because the way he gets goals from midfield, India doesn't quite have anyone like him, if you ask me. And yes, Akshay Nayak, Sunil Chhetri's free kick was indeed fire. I mean, Rajnish Rai says, I feel sad for main media, no one telecasting. Well, we're here. We're talking about it right now, and we're having a good time talking about it. So never mind whether it be any other form of media. If you guys enjoy what it is that we do, and well, you join us on a consistently good regular basis, then well, we'll have a talk about everything that comes to Indian football or anything. You know for a fact that we love sport, and we are going to be talking about sport at all time. So Madhav Garg asks, is India dependent on Sunil Chhetri like the cricket team was on Virat Kohli? No, I would say that the Indian football team are far more reliant on Sunil Chhetri than the Indian cricket team ever were on Virat Kohli. Not a comparison in the least. Without Chhetri, this Indian football team has absolutely nothing when it comes to a consistent goal scorer. So, I would say that definitely the Indian football team's reliance on Chhetri far more than the Indian cricket team's reliance on VK, especially in his prime days. No, not a comparison. I agree with you there, Critic, that Liston Colasso has at least till now flattered to receive in the Indian jersey, but I mean, he's shown his mettle at ATK Mohun Bagan, so I don't think it's fair to, malign him so far, so quickly. I mean, he's still a young player, he will take time. International football is a very different beast, so, and Rajesh, I do take your point that some of them are, naturalized citizens, but I still think, considering the way, if you look at international form and the kind of form the Indians put on, that India were indeed the favourites going into this match. And I stand by that, despite the fact that the Afghanistan players did manage a late equalizer. So, very, very happy to see this kind of performance, and, very, very pleased as an Indian football fan that we might be actually one step closer to getting onto that flight for the AFC Asia Cup. Akshay, actually, there's no certainties just yet, because remember, India will have to top the group to be guaranteed of a spot. And of course, if they finish second, they can still qualify. But remember, of the 6 teams that finish second, there will be one team that misses out. So as of now, nothing is set in stone as far as the qualifiers go. India still have one more match against Hong Kong. And if they win that, then you can say that yes, they are guaranteed to be through. In fact, I would say that even if they draw that, they probably, I have to go through the permutations and combinations, and mathematically speaking, I haven't had time to do that yet, because as soon as the match finished, I hopped onto the stream here to be with you guys and talk about the match. But I will go through it, and I think that and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think if India get a draw in their final game, that should be enough for them to top the group and then seal their qualification. So it's not official just yet. I'd hold your horses as far as celebration goes, but absolutely it's very, very close to happening, and I couldn't be happy, I couldn't be more pleased that we'll get to see India in the AFC Asian Cup once again. I think it's a good thing that the national team are making it something of a habit in terms of actually making it to the Continental Cup. Indian football, as we know, is very much a sport in growth and development as far as India is concerned. But the fact is that, Kritik asked, just make me understand, how can India qualify for the World Cup? Well, I can do a whole video on that, man. Wrong place to be asking me that. I don't think they're anywhere close to being qualifying for the World Cup just yet. Making it for the AFC Asian Cup would just end up, being enough for now. So I think, as I was saying beforehand, it's a good thing that the Indians seem to be getting into a habit of at least making it close and making it into the AFC Asian Cup. It's a good thing that if you can be regular in near future, indeed, Kritik, it would be possible, but it would require at least 10 to 15 years of consistent investment and improvement at both domestic and international level. That's the Indian thing. And yes, Madhav Garg, I agree that the standard of football isn't the best, but football is not a sport that India traditionally have excelled at. So, I don't think it's fair to make that comparison, but, yeah. So India has to thank you, Weber Vaikar, for that explanation. So let's see. Well, now know what happens. You know for a fact that all India will need to do is get, if they win their next match, then they're guaranteed qualification because they were top of the group. And of course, I don't know about you guys, but I'm still trying to catch my breath from that ending because it was a crazy ending to the match. And I'm very, very happy that, India did end up winning the match because it was a very close drawn affair. And I was very deflated when that equalizer went in because it was just typical. It looked like India switched off after Chetri scored the first goal or the opening goal. And then they ended up conceding a lousy goal. Thankfully, Samal came in, rescued us, and now India are one step closer. In fact, I would argue that they have 1 foot in the AFC Asian Cup qualifiers. But of course, there's still one more game to go against Hong Kong. And once that is done, only then can we say for certain that India will indeed have qualified. But I'm very optimistic about the way this match is, about our chances in that match, because again, in both the matches so far, India have had two very different types of wins. Against Cambodia, they dominated, got a clean sheet, scored 2 goals. Here, they did dominate. They didn't actually score until the end of the match, but they ended up getting those goals when it mattered the most, especially from Sahal. I was very pleased to see him score. But, there's still one more game to go, and we will be covering that match as well in terms of, I will be previewing it and be talking about the stats and facts. I will also be joining you guys after the match ends, as always, as I am wont to do. So do join us for that. As of now, I am taking your leave. So thank you all very much for joining us in this video. If you enjoy what it is that we do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tap the bell icon, all that good stuff. Thank you once again for joining us. As always, I've been Shane Dias. Good night. See you tomorrow for India, South Africa, the Baku GP, as well as, of course, our coverage for the IPL media rights. Big Sunday ahead tomorrow. Do join us tomorrow. We're going to be talking everything. Bye-bye. Good night for now.